What's up, YouTube? My name's AJ. This will be my first video, and I'm new, so I guess don't hate too much, but basically I just wanted to talk a little bit about ACL tears, because I've looked around on YouTube and the internet, and it doesn't really seem like there's much out there about it, even though it's one of the most serious sports injuries that you can have. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist. I'm actually a student athlete heading off to college next year to play football. And this past fall I suffered an ACL tear, so everything I have is more so from my own experience, not really from any sort of study or profession. But I have gained a little bit of knowledge just through my rehab, working with my surgeon and many different physical therapists, so I am knowledgeable and somewhat qualified to talk about this topic, and especially from an athletic point of view. So basically, I'm just going to do a general overview today. You guys tell me if you want more. I'd love to talk more about this kind of stuff. I'm going to be busting out all sorts of stuff like this, as far as like workouts, all that kind of stuff, wellness, fitness, general topics of discussion, maybe a little bit of tech. You know, because I'm going off to college, got to figure some of that stuff out too. So I'll be posting this here on YouTube and also on my blog called Chalking Up, which we'll talk about all this fun stuff. Anyway, back to the point of the video. So basically, if you have your ACL, pretend like this is, well, that was really crappy. If this is your knee, right, your ACL, or your anterior cruciate ligament, runs right through the middle of there, and it's probably the most crucial ligament in your knee, and it also has zero muscle tissue in it, which is one of the big reasons why it's so hard to rehab. That's why the rehab time is usually 8 to 10 months, and to gain all that muscle mass that you had on there beforehand, it takes maybe up to 2 years, is what a lot of my doctors have told me. So basically we're asked with this question, you know, what does one do to come back from such a serious injury? So from my own experience, I would say, you know, the sky's the limit, obviously. With the new technology that we have today, you as an athlete can come back from this injury 100%, completely. So do not for a second think that you cannot come back from this injury, because you can, and most times it's going to make you a better athlete through your rehab. So the second thing is, it's good to have a goal, but don't be so unrealistic in that, like, oh, I'm going to be the next Adrian Peterson or something like that, because that was something that I wanted to do, and he is, like, they've told me this a billion times, and it frustrated the hell out of me until I realized, like, wow, maybe it's a little better to take my time, really make sure I'm established here. But he is like a 1 in 1,000 case. He's the only person who's ever come back 100% short of 8 months. You know, there's plenty of other people in the league and professional sports who've come back from ACLs, like Frank Gore's another one. He's been in the league for forever, and he had an ACL, and you'd never know it the way he runs. And he recovered in about 10 months. So, I mean, don't put yourself on a timeline, would probably be my biggest recommendation. Your body's going to respond to the rehab the way that your body's going to respond. Everybody's different. So I could be doing something and you could be doing something and get different results. It's all about how your body responds to the rehab. So with that said, even if you think that your body's not responding to it, especially early on, because early on your results are not going to be so great, and you're going to be doing stuff where it's like mindless tasks, like swaying back and forth on your legs, or just balancing on one leg, trying to learn how to just teach those muscles how to work again. Stuff like that, where it's not even necessarily strength. Those are the things that are really important once you get started, once you get out of your brace, out of your surgery, all that kind of stuff. Those are important things to rehab, even though it's not necessarily strength or speed or anything like that. Just the functional stuff, you have to lay the groundwork. While I'm talking about that, it's also very important right away when you get started, that you work on your flexion and your extension right after surgery. Get going on that. If you're laying down after your surgery, when you get back home, because usually it's outpatient, get there, start working on your extension and your flexion. It hurts like hell, but it's going to pay off and it'll pay dividends in the future. That is number one. You can't do anything else till you get that stuff done. So with that said, usually that's a lot of the early stuff. I'll probably break this stuff down into 3 phases. That's usually what they do. So a lot of that stuff is the early phase. Then you've got kind of a phase in the middle where you're working on strength, but you also kind of have some parameters as far as your athletic ability, as far as like jumping or running and stuff like that of that nature. So usually in that phase 2, I'll call it, is you're not doing a whole lot of running, maybe a little bit, not doing a whole lot of impact, but you are working on your impact in your rehab. But you're continuing to strengthen and you're doing more of a larger variety of strength exercises. So in that phase, I'd probably say the number one thing is keep just pumping it out. You have to come back day after day. That's the tip for the whole thing. Come back day after day ready to work. That's the number one thing you can do. Do something for your knee every day. Whether it's jumping, running, lifting's probably really big, especially for athletes who are coming back from it, who have a lot of quad strength, all that kind of stuff. Do something for that knee every single day. I'd also say that a huge recommendation is get into a good sports med program. A lot of that is very crucial. I work with the University of Wisconsin and their rehab department, so that's pretty important. They'll give you a great sense of direction. That can make a huge difference. So I work with a physical therapist once or twice a week, along with a performance spectrum group, which is a rehab group that puts you through some pretty tough stuff. So that's pretty important too. Now going into the phase 3, by the time you get to phase 3, you're practically done. It's like the last 10-20% of the road as far as gaining back your strength. Working out the kinks basically is what it is. So what you want to do in phase 3 is you want to monitor your progress as far as what you did in phase 2 to phase 3 and say, okay, what do I need to work on more? For me, it's been mostly quad strength. And you'll start doing a lot more cutting, agility drills, all that stuff that you do as you prepare for a sport. So I would say the number one thing is look at what you need to work on from what you were from 6 months out, where you are 8 months out, and see what you need to do to improve and get cleared eventually. So I think that's about going to wrap it up. That's my little brother. We're going to wrap it up for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or message me on my blog or anything like that. If you want to hear more about this kind of stuff, I'd love to talk about it. Hope to hear from you guys. Subscribe if you want to. I mean, I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh my god, subscribe. No, okay. I'll catch you guys later.